defensive back Brad Igweike. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Coach, I'll start with you. You've been around the league certainly for quite some time, and UAlbany for a while. But how excited are you to have this opportunity to serve as head coach at UAlbany?
It's one of a kind. I mean, there was a while in my coaching career where I thought I'd never want to be a head coach, to be honest. And work with my brother and work with some other great coaches. This opportunity came about, and I'm thrilled that there's people that trust me to steward this program in this time. But at the same token, I'm going to drive it like I stole it, and do it my way. And I got a great group of coaches and players around me, so it's an incredible honor.
Caden, I'll go to you next. Certainly, a lot of receivers gone from a year ago. So you're kind of the leader of that group. How do you feel like your role will change this season?
Yeah, I mean, we had a pretty deep room last year and a lot of targets to get the ball to. So I mean, I hope I could just help us out however I could and make an impact on the game.
And then Brad, you're coming off the injury from last year. How's your health? Are you back close to 100%? And how tough was it sitting out last year? And how excited are you to get ready to go?
So I'm 100% ready to go. I'm really excited and I feel really good about where I'm at in my health as of this moment. But last year was very, very tough for me because it was the first time that I really went through a serious injury that had a lengthier recovery. But I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to travel with the team throughout the entirety of the season and really be involved. And that gave me the opportunity to get to know some of the newer guys and build those relationships. And it's making a big difference and it's helping me lead right now.
If you have questions for any of the UAlbany contingent here, just use the chat feature, the raise your hand icon. Coach Ambrose, let's start talking a little bit about your offense. And certainly it's a lot of focus on the quarterback situation always, but you return a couple of quality running backs with JoJo and Griffin along with Caden there on the outside. Just kind of break down the offense for us and the expectations going into the season.
Yeah, it's interesting for our offense right now. We had that great year in 23 and a lot of pieces left, but a lot of pieces are still back. Caden, for example, got hurt in 23 and he was our leading receiver before he had his injury and came back last year and, was working his way back into playing football. Griffin Waddell, same type of guy, had an excellent year his first year playing for us in 23. Really limped to the end of the season with some couple things they just never kind of recovered for. So, there's a lot of guys within the offense, up front. There's two guys who have been battling back injuries in the 24 season and now they're healthy now. Carter Moses has kind of been there throughout the whole thing, playing from 23, 24, and now getting into 25. Feel like he's kind of hitting his stride. And, at the quarterback position, we brought in a couple transfers. Van Weber, as it's already been stated, will not play this season. Suffered a non-contact injury in spring ball, but, he's a leader on this team and has been kind of showing everybody the way that we go about our business and the standard in which we want to work. And there's honestly too many guys to speak on. We have a lot of new faces on offense. I think we have a lot of talent. Now we just got to put it all together in camp.
Question this morning from Azar. Go ahead, Azar.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Great.
I wanted to ask you, whenever a new head coach comes in, they want to set the tone for the program. What's the tone? What's the culture that you wanted to create or are creating in your first year of UAlbany head football coach?
I think when a head coach comes in, he's obviously got to imprint what he believes in within the program and on the program. My message to the guys the whole entire time since I've been here is, we're going to do this thing together and there's going to be a higher level of discipline in which we do it for sure. Every detail matters in this program and these guys buy into it. And, the other thing I've really impressed upon these guys, I want to teach leadership. Quite often in this world, in this time, people expect leadership from young people without either modeling it or, defining it. And we spent a lot of time, putting our players in positions to lead, but not without teaching them, what a leader is, what a good leader is, and what a bad leader is. I mean, leadership can, go in both directions. So, the biggest two things I've probably tried to impress upon our roster that they've bit into is, discipline and leadership. And, with leadership, you have to find followers as well. Your leaders are only as good as those willing to follow. And, the two guys on each side of me are great ambassadors of what we're trying to get done here.
Rob, can I ask another question?
Yeah, sure. One more.
Okay. For Caden and Brad, this is to you guys. We all know the elephant in the room. Everybody's looking at it as Coach Gattuso left, players have left the program. What's your response as to far as for the fan base and for maybe not the doubters, because you're not going to listen to the doubters. You know what you got in that locker room. But what's your message to the fan base as far as to say, what to look forward to this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's nobody better than the guy we have leading us. Coach G was awesome, but I think, the guy sitting right here, he's experienced in the league. He's done it before. He's been to conference championships. He's been to national championships. I think they can expect, a competitive season. I think we're going to go out there and we're going to do what we need to do. Being ranked 12th in the preseason polls, and we got fuel to our fire. So, I mean, I think they can expect, a great season out of us, competitive season for sure.
Yeah, the transition with Coach Ambrose stepping up to the head coach position has been seamless so far. So from within our program, we've had no panic as to how we're going to operate and attack this new season. But we're really confident about where we're going forward. And, we've been in a situation a few years ago, picked low to finish in the conference, and that we don't really pay it any mind.
Caden, you've had several different quarterbacks during your time at UAlbany. How long does it take sort of to build that chemistry with the quarterback, and how has that gone through the spring and the summer? And then also offensively, how much does your familiarity with what Coach Ambrose likes to do on that side of the ball help?
Yeah, I mean, the familiarity is, definitely a key to our success. I mean, he's had a playbook for however many years, and there's little tweaks and stuff, but, being familiar and coming back definitely is a big, help for me. And I think, with the quarterbacks, I think, it takes time. They need to see how I run my route. I need to see how they throw the ball. I think through spring with Aiden, we, got our chemistry down, and now with CP and Jack, we're working on it. And, throughout the summer doing, 7-on-7 and team practices, we're getting there. And I think fall camp will be big for us. But, there's growing pains just like with everything, and it takes time.
Brad, for you, there's a lot of new guys, a lot of new starters on the defensive side of the ball as well. As a more veteran guy, even though you sat out last year, how has your role changed, and how do you feel like your defense is coming together?
My role on this defense is a bit more physical because it's, I'm actually somebody who has to be an example, every single day. So that's been new for me, but I'm fine stepping into those shoes. And we feel really, really good about our defense. A year ago, we had a number of new faces, whether they were younger guys or whether they were transfers, new to our program, and still, understanding how to work alongside each other and with our own defense. But having a year to all be together, I think our communication's a lot better. And, when you have a strong relationship with the person next to you, it's that much easier to be able to, fight and execute.
Coach, I asked you about the offense, but let's shift over to the defense. As I said, you've got some new faces on that side. Who are some guys that you're counting on to step up, and how do you feel about that unit going into the season?
I think the unit, holistically is really deep. We got a lot of really good players on our back end. Obviously, Brad's not sitting here because he's delinquent of being able to play football at a high level. While he is a great leader, great human, all those things, he's also great on the field. On the back end, you got both of our safeties returning, Denzel Patrick and TJ Kamara. You got Brad, you got Irv Wiggins coming back, who was a freshman last year, who battled in every single game. And he's, as much of a football player as you're ever going to meet. He's not a guy who loves football only. He needs football in his life. Cam Stodchill has made so much progress in his development over his career. Played a little bit on the back end as a true freshman. And then, played interchangeably with Nick Totten last year at our field backer position. In the box, we felt like one of our best potential players who was really rising last year at the linebacker position, Dylan Dunathan, was going to, take his game to new heights. And early on in the year, he suffered an injury that, he couldn't come back from. And then, up front, Abe Sanogo, Balansama Kamara, they're electric as humans. They always got a vibe to them in the locker room, on the field, but they also work their tails off. So, and then, we got a kind of hidden gem that's returning to us from 23 that played a lot of meaningful down for us, but we'll leave that one in our back pocket, and you guys can just wait and see.
You certainly have the advantage, even though you're a first-time head coach. You know the league so well. You've been around the league so well. How much does that familiarity, not only with your team but with the league, help as you enter year one?
Specifically with the team, there's not a ton of instances in this profession where you get to jump into this role that I'm in and have such a clear understanding of what your team and your locker room is, for the good and the bad. And it definitely, I think, gives you an advantage to the things you want to get done when you understand the players in your locker room, you understand the coaches, you understand the support staff, the administration, the alums. So, and from that token, I feel like I was advanced stepping into it. As far as the role of being a head coach, the biggest blessing I've probably had in my career is I rode shotgun with my brother for 10 years at Towson. And I was privy to conversations that most assistant coaches don't get. So my understanding of the position and the challenges and, the things that I have to handle day to day also gave me an advantage. So, coming into this thing, like Brad said, it was seamless for us as a team because I'm a familiar face for these guys. And it was seamless for me, just the experiences I've had with, if KC Keeler makes it to the College Football Hall of Fame, that'll be the second head coach that, I've worked for that is a Hall of Famer. And being able to learn good from bad from, amazing coaches like Monty Cater, like my brother, it goes so far. And I use those lessons every day, and I do my best not to forget them. And then if I have a hiccup myself, I have these guys to hold me accountable, but I also try to learn from it in the moment.
Question for you from Dan Steenhammer. Go ahead, Dan.
Thanks, Rob. And Coach Ambrose, congratulations on the head coaching job. It's been too long. Good to see
Thanks,
you.
Dan.
I wanted to ask, you've been at UAlbany, that it's important to beat Stony Brook in that rivalry right there for the Apple and all that goes with that. But I'm curious what the dynamic is going into a year where you'll line up against, the younger Coach Kosh after working with the elder Coach Kosh, not that many years ago, and just seeing what Billy did at Stony Brook a year ago and measuring up against that and just trying to, take the Apple back but that you're getting into a kind of interesting dynamic with the Koshes, and I'm just curious what your take is on Billy Kosh in particular.
Billy can speak on it a little bit. We have a very, very long history from when he was the quarterback for Arundel High School at the Freaks and Cleats shootout at Towson University. And we were recruiting the heck out of Billy, and he had, other opportunities. Known the family for a long time, coached against Chris my first round at Delaware when we played Maryland in 08. And it's a phenomenal family. Like myself, coming from a football family, Billy himself, he's never known a day in his life without football. And he's done a tremendous job at Stony Brook, but rivalry games are some of those things that, you can't look ahead to. It could be rat poison for your program. It's obviously going to be a big deal for us when we get to that week when we're playing Stony Brook. The trick is not looking forward to it. We know right here it's going to be a season goal for us to get that Apple back where it belongs. But we'll handle that when we get to that week.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for taking time to join us today. Good luck as practice gets underway here, and look